You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. So Al, as we like to get started with everyone on the guest, for people that don't know you, how did you get involved in baseball?
It started out for me. It started as a bit of a joke between a mate of mine when we were playing five-a-side. I think we kind of realised that we'd long since passed our prime in football and kind of looking at new sports to get involved in. And I'd recently watched Moneyball, and he'd too recently seen it as well. And we kind of, looked around, and it was, let's go and take a crack at this. And I think it was a week later, we both went down to Long Eaton Storm. And that was nearly 6 years ago now. So I think that was, just seeing Moneyball, to be honest, I think it was the same for a lot of people in British baseball who introduced the sport over the last decade. They kind of saw that film, and it was kind of like the romance of the game really kind of brought me into it.
That's interesting, because for a lot of people that started off early on in British baseball, it tended to be Channel 5 with Johnny and Josh Chetwynd that was their introduction to it. So that's quite cool that it's a movie that sort of sparked your interest in it. What was it about the film then that made you want to play?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been one for the underdog. So kind of seeing the impossible story of the A's doing that winning streak, and it's just, I don't know, just kind of really enjoyed it. Again, it was just thinking about, I want to keep playing sport, I want to keep playing team sports, really enjoy them. Just finding out that, there was a team local to us as well in Long Eaton. I just, jumped at the chance to get down there.
That's really interesting. So have you had any of your own impossible stories in your baseball career so far?
I think the kind of the first season at Newcastle has to be classified that as a little bit. I think when I joined the club at the end of the summer in 2018, I think we were entered into the league and in the following season, and I think on that opening day we played Hull, who were AA at the time, and I think we fielded maybe 3 players who had any kind of league baseball experience before. So to go on the run we did that season, and to go and win the playoffs ultimately was quite the achievement.
That's brilliant. What was the mood in the camp at the start of the season before then? Did you have any sort of expectations or hopes?
I always go back to the AGM and sitting there with Adam and Stu Taylor, and we set our aspiration for the season to field a team in every game. I said we didn't care if we won or lost. Our kind of main goal for the season was to just field a team, and that was very much actually taking inspiration for what was happening in Manchester this season before. I think it might have been the Bees team who lost every single game, but they turned up every single week. They never forfeited. They always fielded several players and stuff like that. And they just really enjoyed the sport. And that was, a bit of an inspiration for us, really. And I think we had that first Hull game, and I think we lost it. It was either 11-10 or 12-11. And it was one of the last plays of the game. And we actually realised, we can compete here. And we just went from there.
And how have you managed? How did Newcastle manage to build on that success?
I think any team who played against us that season would probably give testament to just the team spirit. The absolute camaraderie that existed between that first kind of Newcastle side. The breakfasts at Wetherby services when we were travelling up and down the country, and I think it was just a group of people just really enjoying themselves and just playing for the fun of it, and with that kind of success followed.
You used to play for Long Eaton Storm to start with. How did you transition then to playing for Newcastle?
Yeah, so I did that first season at Storm. I, new to the game, I played probably 50% of the games and, largely mostly playing outfield. And then it was just my partner was looking at going to university to do a master's in the Northeast. And, obviously moved with her and I went looking for baseball up there. I was on the cusp of setting up my own team. I was going to playfully call the Newcastle Browns. And then I just found out about what Stu and Adam had already really started with the Nighthawks. That team was, I think, their story goes back to just 4 people throwing a ball around in a field, and this kind of dream of turning into a baseball team. And I joined the club just before they played their first ever friendly. And I don't know, it's just from that, it was, it really got into my blood at that point, to be honest. And a lot of the stuff I learned from the guys at Storm, especially considering the Storm setup, a lot of ex-Team GB coaches and players there. I had quite a lot of game knowledge instilled in me, and I was able to kind of pass that on to Newcastle, who are a very, very new team.
Yeah, Michael, the former GB manager, was part of the Long Eaton setup.
Yeah, Michael Harold, yeah. No, definitely Michael, Steve Smith, both absolutely brilliant in kind of introducing me to the game and bringing me on.
So what sort of advice did they give you, that like having a wealth of knowledge of all those ex-GB coaches? What's the best bit of advice that you received from a coach or from one of those players?
I think there's the amount of knowledge that they've instilled in me is unreal. I just absolutely sponged off them when I've been around them and tried to just take in as much as possible. But I had one 15-minute session with Michael Harold talking about base running and just walking around the diamond, just talking about, paces away from the bag, maintaining lines of sight to the pitcher. And I think what the information he gave me itself is, probably not particularly technical or anything like that, but just the confidence he instilled in me to actually be a very aggressive base runner really comes from that.
Interesting. Do you think that's one of your stronger points?
I probably would say so, yeah. I'm not a big guy. I'm not a big hitter or anything like that. I've kind of adapted my game to be very much about getting on base and running hard.
Who's helped you the most along the way?
I think I would have to say probably Mike Hayward, to be honest, at Long Eaton Storm. In any conversation about baseball, it's difficult not to mention him. I joined Storm, and he's the guy behind the scenes of all there, and doing that was just working with him. And I pretty much still call him probably once a week, to be honest, just to talk about British baseball. So he's always a go-to. He's always a great sounding board for me. And I returned to Storm briefly after coming back from 3 years in Newcastle last season. I did half a season there before leaving. But again, just coming back to Storm was again just a big step up and a big challenge. So just always turn to Mike, to be honest, is probably a good mantra for me.
Yeah, that's nice. So for all the teams that you played for, who've been some of your favourite teammates?
I can't not say Stu Taylor. He's probably my best mate in British baseball. They're definitely a kind of shout out to a couple of the Dominican lads who have played with up in Newcastle as well. So Jose Santana, Steel Paniche, Damien De La Cruz as well. So those guys, I think, just because they've played baseball at, from when they were very young, kind of being exposed to those players was really good as well. But I mean, I'm at Wragby now, and I'm Wragby through and through, and like just every single one of those guys, really, for me, to see what they started last May, and just to be back with a very new team, and just seeing the kind of like passion and the energy they've got for the sport is, really great, and can't beat it, to be honest.
That's interesting. So how did you get involved with the rugby team?
It's funny. It was, comes full circle. It was actually via Newcastle. So I left Storm last season. I was kind of thinking what were the next steps really for me in baseball. I wanted to kind of be involved in a club where I felt like I could have like a big impact. And it just so happened, at the time I left Storm, I was thinking, well, I could just go and play a couple of games for Newcastle. I mean, they're in Sheffield every other weekend, the way the Northern League is, and it's only about an hour away from me. And I found out they were having this friendly against this unknown entity of Wragby Warhammers. And just found out about those guys in Lincoln, and pretty much just got myself straight over there, and just been there 7 months now, and just very much kind of committed to just helping this team along, and bring baseball to a club in an area that's there's been nothing there for 20 odd years. There's nothing for 30-mile radius or anything like that. Just to get baseball in that area and bring this team along is the absolute goal now.
Interesting. So how's rugby taken to baseball, or vice versa? How's baseball taken to rugby? You said, and there's not really much to do within quite a vast region. Has it been difficult to try and get people involved, or are people really on board with it?
Yeah, I think absolutely not. No, I mean, we've got 20 players at the club now, which is, a great level of growth, really, having, only being a year old. I mean, there's absolutely the interest for the team to exist there. And, we're getting new players all the time joining us. I think what really endeared me to rugby was, beyond that kind of similar energy of what Newcastle had as a startup team there, is just the community behind the club. You've got in British baseball, you've got big city teams, Manchester, Liverpool, and all of that. And here you've got this little kind of rural town of Wragby and all of it. But what you've got with that is just almost a fan base. You go to a rugby home game and there will be 20, 30, 40 people just come in for the day with their deck chairs and sitting and watching the game. And it's just great local support.
So you get quite a lot of local interest?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, loads. Absolutely loads.
Whereabouts is the park situated in Wragby? Is it in a location where eyes can get on it, or are people going out the way to come and watch?
No, it's very much in the kind of I'd say just on the edge of the town centre. It's quite accessible coming up from north of Lincoln, to be honest. So but I think it's to be honest, it's a private bit of land that's the local football team uses. Well, they've got a couple of pitches. We've got a pitch, but it's making what we've termed Hammer Park a destination for the local people, really. And I think, we want to get local people involved in it as much as possible.
So being in British baseball for a good few years now, what have been some of your favourite baseballing memories?
I think it's the personal things, and you'll have them where you've got a personal achievement. So I hit the most RBIs at Newcastle in that first season, which was pretty cool. And I had this pretty cool kind of diving catch as well. But I think really the things that I've really enjoyed in baseball are seeing the successes of other people when I've been involved in coaching, seeing players get their first hits, seeing, we've had a guy at Newcastle called Ranjit Singh, and he's a big lad, former American football player, but just kind of seeing a unit like that learning to base run and being successful at stealing bases and stuff like that as well was like really cool. So all of those little things, to be honest, and joining rugby, I'm getting to be a part of that and see all of that again now. We've had people playing. We had a roster of 13 players at the weekend, 12 players at the weekend, and for at least 9 of them, that was their first ever league game. So all of these kind of firsts and stuff like that are really great.
Yeah. Are you a bit gutted that you didn't get into the sport a bit younger?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think, so I don't know if I still think the same, but I regret not getting into the sport from a much, much younger age. I wouldn't say a waste of time on football, but I don't know, there's something about baseball that's very different to other team sports for me. I've kind of said that what I really enjoy about baseball is the inclusivity of it. I think regardless of your kind of your gender, your background, your body type or anything like that, there's a role for you in baseball somewhere. And I think that's really good. So I kind of like that element, but I think as well, just the temperament of the game's quite interesting as well. It's a much kind of slower paced thing. I think it teaches you to be fairly philosophical. The amount of times I've seen teams come back from nowhere, teams blow games. How many sports do you really have where, a batting average of 30% is considered good kind of thing. So I quite like that. And the game humbles you as well. It never lets you get too far ahead of yourself. You'll always bring you back down to earth. Yeah,
tell me about it. Have you had any damn experiences then yet that have brought you back down to earth with a bump?
Yeah. I think it's every time you step into a batter's box, I think you can have, as I did last weekend, you can be having a good performance across the 2 games and you get into a clutch situation and the pressure starts weighing on you and, well, you don't deliver necessarily what you think you can. So, no, it does keep you right in that way. But, I mean, kind of a funny story is always getting hit on the head with a ball. Now, there'll be probably, if James Riley's listening to this, he would probably smile at this one. We had a game for Newcastle. It was probably in the first season. In one inning, I made this, I would say, fairly difficult diving catch to, pretty good, to be honest. And I think people were fairly impressed with that. And then an inning later, what was a fairly routine fly ball, chased it down, slipped a little bit, and it hit me on the head. So, they happen.
Yeah, I've done that. In my first game, I caught a ground ball and then managed to flick it into my own face. I don't even know how I did it, but it's like the first thing that came to me and I saw it coming, I was like, don't mess this up. Yeah. Got my glove down, scooped it. I was like, yeah, I've got it. And then whack, it's like being chinned by a little elf or something.
Yeah, I had that as well at Long Eaton. I think it was the first game we played Birmingham away and I was put in for like the last couple of innings and fly ball came away and I caught it. And then I threw it straight to second. We got 2 outs and it was like, oh, wow, I can do this game. And then a week later, Steve Smith put some confidence in me, rightly or wrongly, put me in left field against Northants at home. And I had 2 routine fly balls straight at me and I dropped them both. So, and I I've never forgotten that game, to be honest. So.
Yeah. I think dropping the easy ones is stuff of nightmares. Been there, didn't like we played Sheffield Blade Runners last season, and we were in a jam trying to get out of an inning, and the pitcher got the ball over the plate, and twice the ball came to me, and I dropped them both, and it was in my head then. Couldn't get out of it. How did you manage to get yourself back into a positive mindset then after that?
And honestly, I think I just had good people around me, they didn't let me dwell on it too much. I think I was just told, I probably had my head down a little bit, and I was just told to get back out there. And I didn't have anything particularly, I had nothing to catch come my way probably for the rest of the game, but, I probably stopped a couple of doubles happening with some stops, and, it was probably, just kind of the likes of Steve and Mike and Michael Harrell just throwing me back into the game and just saying, crack on, it'll get better. 2001,
we're bringing ourselves up to date a bit now. BSUK had you down as the Volunteer of the Year, which you won for. You were instrumental in the creation of the Newcastle Nighthawks new diamond, from designing the site to seeking planning permission. You did it all. Your effort and dedication led to Newcastle both breaking ground and completing their new pitch in less than a year, and during a global pandemic. Any way you look at it, it's impressive. Building one field was not enough, though, as Alice moved on to assist Wolverhampton and Northants in their field development plans. His efforts are literally transforming the baseball landscape in the UK. And you beat competition there of Kelly Wright from the Sheffield Bruins, Luke Borton from the Worcester Sorcerers, and Tom Rochester from Telford Baseball. It could have been any one of those. How did that make you feel winning that achievement?
It's very nice to have received an award and get recognition from BSUK. As you say, the likes of Kelly and Luke and that, they're big names. They've done a lot of good stuff within our sport. So I think I probably get too much credit for trying to assist Wolverhampton and Northampton. Northants, they've done everything under their own steam as well. But and equally, with Newcastle, I did a fair amount of it, but there were other guys as well. That James Riley, Jose Santana, Stu Taylor, that put in some of the hours as well to help us build that. It's great to see that it's still being loved after a couple of years and being looked after and being resurfaced recently. So I always said, I didn't ever think I'd be in Newcastle forever, and to just played a bit of a part in kind of helping getting baseball active in that area. That's really cool for me. And it's what we're doing at Wragby right now. We've just received the Facilities Fund Award from BSUK. We've got people on site yesterday digging up the pitch, ready to lay the dirt ahead of our first ever home game on the 8th of May. Our guy, our groundskeeper Willie, Harry Haddingham, our pitcher, he's been instrumental in kind of building that pitch there, and I've kind of been a bit more in the background with this one. I led on the funding and that, but it's very much Harry kind of pushing that one forward, and me just supporting with what I can in terms of funding and that.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the whole project?
At Newcastle, or just in general?
In the Newcastle build, and I suppose you can apply the same to other clubs as well.
Do you know what? I'm not going to tell you it's easy, but I think a lot more people should push to get it done. I think we should push to get more, I would say, dedicated facilities across British baseball. I wouldn't say I'm particularly talented in this area at all or anything like that. I haven't got any specific knowledge. People like Tom Yard, who's been knocking around kind of Durham for a while, He's been really helpful. He's a good kind of source of knowledge for kind of mound building and stuff like that. But yeah, just, I think it was a case of, well, I say it, if you build it, they will come kind of thing, or he will come, to the proper quote. But yeah, it was just, let's just crack on with it. And I'm probably a character that might act first and think later a bit when I get excited about a project like that.
So last few questions from me, and then I'll hand it over to you. Have you got a specific jersey number that you wanted?
Yeah, I never got it, which is
no.
So, I mean, my childhood hero was Stuart Pearce.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think I've ever walked on a football pitch without the number 3 on my back, kind of thing. So when I started playing baseball, I wanted to be the number 3, and literally every club I went, well, certainly with Storm and Newcastle, that was always taken. But when I went to Newcastle, I was really into, baseball was a big thing for me. It just became a big thing for me. I was watching the Oakland A's quite a lot, and I quite liked the prospect Dustin Fowler, who wore number 11. And through some miscommunication when I was ordering my jersey, I ended up with the number 1. So I think we decided that it was just quite funny and an arrogant number. The Newcastle actually retired my jersey after I left the club.
Oh, wow.
As a kind of a thank you for kind of doing what I did with the pitch and that. They also got me a signed Scott Hatterberg baseball card as well, which was
nice.
Probably the best present in the world, to be honest. So, those guys kind of retiring that jersey basically meant that I could only ever be number 1 going forward, really. And that's my jersey number now with rugby. You've
mentioned throughout the show that baseball is quite a big thing for you. Just how important is baseball to you, and how big a part of your life is it?
I think my partner would say too big of a part. I think there's a lot of people's partners who would say that in British baseball. I think I've kind of just got to, I don't know, a point with it really where I can't not be involved in it. I can't not be. I think I just enjoy it so much. I always think, maybe I'll take a step back this season, or I'll just be a player or something like that. But I think I see, I wouldn't say issues in British baseball, but I kind of see where I can be a bit of help. The decision to kind of leave Storm at the end of last season was very much about me thinking what I can do to service the sport and to get more people playing. So that's kind of the drive for me. I think it's, I'm very competitive when I'm on the pitch, but I think off the pitch, I do have kind of the wider community in mind and at heart. And I just really want to see this sport grow and thrive, to be honest. And I'd love to, just stay involved in the game, and, hopefully there'll be twice as many teams as there are, in 5 years' time.
Hopefully, yeah. I don't think anyone I've ever come across in the sport doesn't want it to grow and evolve. It's, great community. So last one from me. Who would be in your Mount Rushmore of British baseball people?
Okay, wow. I would go, Mount Rushmore. I'm going to put Mike Hayward in there straight away. Him and Jacobo starting Storm, what is probably getting on 10 years ago now, and kind of recuperating kind of baseball in the Midlands in the way that he has, is absolutely in there. I can't not put Stu Taylor in there for everything he's done up in Newcastle and just making that area what it is now. The Spartan team is, it's actually closer to kind of Darlington way, and there was a real kind of void of baseball up in the northeast there. So getting that club to where we did, was a real challenge. But the way he's maintained that and developed that into 2 teams as well now is, I think is great. I think, you can't, I think you have to think about the women's game beyond this as well. And certainly, you mentioned her earlier, but the efforts of kind of Kelly Wright as well should be really in there. And yeah, I think, just for his service to the game, it absolutely has to be Michael Harold as well. I think I wouldn't dare to say how many years he was involved in it before stepping away last year, but his dedication and if you listen back actually to the podcast he did with you, his influence is very far-reaching on the sport we have.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those people that would be hard to replace at a club just from knowledge and experience. He's in the Hall of Fame of Great British Baseball for a reason. So it's a tradition for the guests to have the last word on the show. So Al, is there any shout outs or anything you want to add in before we part ways?
To be honest, yeah, I just have to absolutely recognise the committee at Wragby Warhammers. Mitch, Lee, Harry, and Matt, who were formative in setting that club up a year ago. I kind of just parachuted in and around kind of August time, but they've really got the club moving. They really got the appetite for baseball up in that area. I came in and I assumed the GM role, but I absolutely identify that everything that's good that's happening in Wragby is because of what those guys started. We've got a very exciting season ahead of us. We've just come off the back of 2 losses to Sheffield Cubs, who dominated the league last year, but we pushed them really hard. We had 2 very closely fought games, and on another weekend we could have been walking away with 2 wins. That's big props to kind of Matt Sutton, our coach, who has just really been working to develop our players, not just fitness but technique, who's selflessly spent hours going through YouTube videos and trying to better his knowledge so he can pass it on. And equally, what Harry's been doing with the ground development, what Lee's been doing in terms of finance and socials, and what Mitch has been doing alongside me in kind of team management as well. It's just exciting to see, see where this team can go, and hopefully, we'll have more teams, in the close vicinity to us. We're already starting to get quite a nice relationship and rivalry with Hull and kind of Sheffield Cubs, who are only just about an hour away from us as well. So yeah, really just excited for the season, and we've got big aspirations for where this club can be.
Brilliant, love it. Can't think of a better way to end the show there. So I think we will. I'll really appreciate your time and giving me your stories, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.